Okay, this is a video to show the standard setup I use for United Classroom. I'm going to start with my Chromebook. So we switch it on. This is literally going to be from scratch. So switch it on and log into the standard screen. And I've deliberately switched everything off so you can see it from scratch. And the first thing I'll do is open a Chrome browser, move over to 1/2, and then open my Classroom Hangout, which I have as a standard link at the top left corner of my browser as a bookmark. At the same time, I'll open another browser window, another browser tab, and drag that to the left hand side. Now this will allow me to go into Classroom as well, so the two things happening at the same time. And just while that one's loading, I can then go across. And what I do when I start up my Hangout is I turn the camera and the microphone off, just to start off with, because then I'm going into the session before the students are there. It just means that it's a kind of void space to start off with, but I'm in there. I'll then also put in the chat, and now you can see my classroom is loaded. So I will click on the lesson that I'm doing for that particular day, the class, and what you'll see is that I've already preloaded the resources I'm using in the session. So what I generally do is open the presentation that goes with the session, and also what I call the think space, which is the kind of main shared document that we use during each of the sessions. So my Chromebook is now running the two main things I need to work with. The one key reason why I do this from the classroom is it ensures that I open the correct version of the presentation in the think space, because there is the potential when you're copying files around to accidentally open the wrong one if you were opening, for example, from the drive. So I find that this is the way I can guarantee that I'm opening the right version. And you see those have opened there in the normal way they would look. Okay, so that's the Chromebook pretty much up and running. Then if I switch to the Surface, I'm going to turn it on. Now the Surface takes a little bit longer to boot up than the Chromebook. And you see now I'm in the Hangout on the Chromebook. What we're going to do now is see how we can get into the Surface to show this too. So, as I said, it does take a little bit longer for the Surface to boot up. And we come into our standard screen. So I'm going to log in. And the home screen, or the desktop that I come into, I'm hoping is empty, because I want to show you what it looks like when we first go in. There it is. Now, because of the nature of our accounts on Windows, it's all right. Because of the nature of our accounts on Windows, Skype for Business will try and open, so I'll head that off when it happens. But my first job, there it is. My first job is to open, as I did on the Chromebook, a Google browser, a Chrome browser. I'm just going to shut down this Skype for Business. It's quite insistent on staying in the startup. And then I open this screen here. Now in a similar way to what I did on the Chromebook, I'm going to open another tab for the Chrome and maximize it. Okay. Now this is going to be my background Hangout screen, and what it allows me to do is capture the chat and also the students' faces at the bottom as participants. So that's now loading. If I go back, I'm just going to close down Skype as well. Skype and Skype for Business automatically open on this machine. Great. What I'm going to do now is the same thing I did before. I'm going to mute and turn off the video on this machine, and then join that call. And you can see now on the Chromebook, I've now included myself in this on this machine. What I do at this point as well, so I don't forget for later, is I click on the green button there and share screen. And so now, and I hide that message there so that they don't see it on the capture, now that screen is being shared over here. You can see that. So that when I open this again, you can see that this browser fits nicely in the space by the chat and the participants. And what I can do now, the same way I did on the other machine, go Classroom, go into the lesson that I'm going to do this morning, that one, that one. And on the capture screen, what I do as well at this point is I preload all of the YouTube clips or other things that I'm using in class, because I find that it's just quicker doing it preloading than it would be if I were just loading them on the fly as I go through. So if I just wait a second for that to load. It does take a little while sometimes for Classroom to get into gear on the surface. Okay, while that's running, let's just go and do a couple of other jobs we have to do first. So if we go to Panopto, which was my icon there from the start menu, that's just coming through now. What I'll do is I'll get Panopto up and running as well for this machine. Normally when I open these, they're obviously, a lot of this is preloaded because I don't switch it off between sessions. I just keep it plugged in but closed. And so the first thing I would do in Panopto is name the lesson, and this makes it easier in the long run because then you're not having to change things on the Panopto website. Would have to be a very long title today. Okay. And then that is ready to start capturing. The only thing I would need to do at the start of the session is click on the record there and then minimize this so it goes into the background. But one thing I do like to do before the session even gets close to being started is I'll just check that the microphone's working from this side, and so I'll unmute myself and just talk a bit, and you can see there we've got a decent level of volume. If you need to adjust that up, obviously we've got the slider there which allows you to adjust it for different microphone levels of the students and so on. But generally it's pretty good at picking up similar sounds. Okay, so I'm going to mute that again, and for the moment I'm just going to minimize the Panopto. And as I said, we've been loading in the background there, the classroom, and you can see it's all loaded now there. If I now load this YouTube clip, you can see that it preloads, and I'll pause that so that it's ready for when the actual session starts. And then what I do is I go through, I can't actually remember which pages I had the videos on. Ah, there's one. I'll go through and just preload all of those, which means that when it comes to the actual capture, I can very easily turn those on because they've preloaded. Brilliant documentary by PBS. I don't think there were any more, but I just double check. Okay, no. Okay, so that's all set up. That's how the students would see on the capture screen as well, and you can see that there. The final thing that I do is I load OneNote. And I've found that OneNote can take a little while to load, so it's good again to have it as a preloaded thing. This is actually pretty quick compared to normal, so I'm hoping the Surface has had an update which has made it a bit faster. And you can see that it preloads basically where I was at the end last time, and if I go down, this is almost like my day-to-day scribble screen, so we've got lots of things going on, and it acts as a nice kind of continuous document. What you can do is you can start a new OneDrive space each time you start a new lesson and save those down. I've found that generally the students capture as they go anyway, so they haven't wanted to do that, but it's a useful space. Anyway, I keep that in the background as well, so that's minimized, and so my starting point for a lesson would always look something like this, where I've got my two Chrome screens in the background here, the lesson resources one on top of the Hangout one, and then on top of that I'll have my Panopto ready to start the capture in a few minutes time. Okay.